Welcome back to Mindful Stoicism, where we uncover the timeless truths that help you master your emotions, relationships, and inner peace. Today, let's talk about something we've all experienced. Have you ever decided to go silent, hoping it would make someone sit up, notice your absence, and realize your worth only to be met with deafening indifference? No calls, no messages, not even the faintest sign they're missing you. It stings, doesn't it? That sinking feeling that your absence seems to have no impact at all. You wonder, did I mean so little to them? Or why aren't they reaching out? It feels like your silence echoes into a void, completely unnoticed. But here's the hard truth. Silence is only powerful when it's used with intention and precision. Without the right approach, it's just empty space. If your silence isn't working, it's not because silence doesn't have power. It's because you're likely making one of 3 critical mistakes. These mistakes don't just reduce the impact of your silence. They make you appear powerless, desperate, or overly emotional, all things you want to avoid. But don't worry, you're not alone in this. Most people misuse silence because they don't truly understand how it works, and that's exactly what we're going to fix today. I'll walk you through the 3 biggest mistakes that sabotage the effectiveness of your silence, explain why they matter, and show you how to use silence as a tool to reclaim your power. So, if you've ever felt invisible when you chose to go silent, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know how to flip the script and make your absence impossible to ignore. This isn't about manipulation. It's about rediscovering your inner strength and using it to change the dynamic of any relationship. Trust me, once you understand this truth, everything will start to make sense. Let's dive in and reveal why your silence might not be working and how you can fix it starting today. 1. The mistake of expectation. One of the biggest reasons your silence may not have the desired impact is rooted in the mistake of expectation. Many people fall into the trap of believing silence is a quick fixer tool to elicit an immediate reaction from the other person. You stop reaching out, expecting them to suddenly realize your worth, miss you, and come running back. But this approach is fundamentally flawed because it's driven by anticipation rather than genuine detachment. Here's the truth. Expectation kills the power of silence. When your silence is loaded with the hope of a specific outcome, it's no longer a demonstration of self-respect. It becomes a subtle form of chasing. This energy, whether you realize it or not, is perceptible. People can sense when your actions are calculated to provoke a reaction, and this often pushes them further away. Silence that's rooted in desperation or a desire for validation has the opposite effect of what you're aiming for. True silence only works when it comes from a place of inner peace and self-assurance. It's not about trying to manipulate someone's emotions. It's about reclaiming your power and prioritizing yourself. When you remove expectation from the equation, you free yourself from the emotional burden of their response or lack thereof. You stop waiting for the phone to ring or the text to appear, and you start focusing on the things that genuinely matter: your personal growth, your passions, and your own happiness. Instead of expecting results from your silence, let it be a reflection of your growth. The moment you stop expecting anything, you'll realize that silence is less about them and more about regaining your emotional independence. And when you reach that point, its impact becomes undeniable. 2. The mistake of inconsistency. Silence, when executed properly, is a powerful statement. But here's the thing, it only works if it's unwavering. Many people sabotage their own silence because they lack consistency. Imagine this scenario. You decide to go silent, thinking this will make someone realize your value. But after a couple of days, the discomfort of their silence gets to you. You give in, you like their post, reply to their story, or send them a quick, "Hey, how are you doing?" In that moment, you've shattered the very essence of what silence is supposed to accomplish. What you're doing, consciously or not, is sending mixed signals. Silence, when inconsistent, doesn't come across as a show of self-respect or strength. Instead, it looks like a game one where you're unsure of the rules yourself. The person on the receiving end picks up on this. They may think, if they're reaching out, maybe they're not as detached as they seemed. And just like that, the power dynamic shifts. Your silence, instead of drawing them in, loses all its potency. Why does this happen? Often, inconsistency stems from a place of fear and doubt. You worry that if you don't reach out, they'll forget about you, or you second-guess your decision to stay silent, convincing yourself that a small interaction won't hurt. But the truth is, every time you break your silence, you dilute its impact. You're essentially telling them that your boundaries are flexible, that your focus on yourself is temporary, and that they still hold power over your actions. True silence is unshakable. It isn't about ignoring someone out of spite or playing mind games. It's a firm declaration that you value yourself enough to stop chasing external validation. Silence works when it comes from a place of self-respect, not as a temporary tactic to manipulate someone's feelings. Consistency in silence means no likes, no comments, no casual texts. It means resisting the urge to check if they've noticed your absence. It's about staying committed to prioritizing your own growth, even when it feels uncomfortable. When you stay consistent, you show them and yourself that your silence isn't about them at all. It's about reclaiming your energy, your peace, and your self-worth. Only then does silence become a tool for empowerment rather than a weapon of desperation. The mistake of timing. Timing is everything when it comes to making your silence impactful. The third mistake most people make is going silent at the wrong time, which completely neutralizes the power of this strategy. If your silence doesn't coincide with the right moment in your dynamic, it can backfire or worse, go completely unnoticed. Here's the truth. Silence has the greatest impact when it is unexpected. If you've been constantly available, overly communicative, or chasing after someone's attention, going silent too abruptly can have the opposite effect of what you're hoping for. Instead of making them feel your absence, it may come as a relief. Think about it. If they've been feeling suffocated by your constant presence or attention, your sudden silence might feel like an escape, not a loss. But how do you know the right time to pull back? It starts with reading the situation carefully. If you've been the one always initiating conversations, apologizing first in arguments, or making constant efforts to connect, silence shouldn't be your immediate response. You need to set the stage for it to have maximum impact. Start by pulling back gradually. Don't abruptly disappear without warning, as it could come off as reactive or manipulative. Instead, take subtle steps to reduce your availability. For instance, respond less frequently or take longer to reply to messages. Stop initiating contact altogether and observe their reaction. This gradual withdrawal creates a psychological shift. It plants the idea that you are no longer as easily accessible. When they start to notice the change, your eventual silence will hit harder. Additionally, timing silence requires you to evaluate their emotional investment in the relationship or dynamic. If they're emotionally detached or already drifting away, your silence might not create the void you expect. In such cases, silence can only serve as a way for you to detach and regain your sense of self-worth. However, if there's a level of connection still present, silence, when timed correctly, will create curiosity, confusion, and even longing. Lastly, remember that silence isn't about punishment or manipulation. It's about self-prioritization and emotional detachment. It works best when they're used to your presence, when you've built a pattern of meaningful connection. Only then will your absence feel like a disruption rather than a convenience. Time your silence like a chess move precisely and strategically, and its impact will be undeniable. Or the truth about why they seem unbothered. Let's confront a harsh but liberating truth. Sometimes your silence has no impact on them because they simply don't value your presence. As painful as that might sound, it's a reality that many struggle to accept. However, understanding this truth can be one of the most empowering moments in your personal growth journey. When someone seems unbothered by your silence, it can feel like a personal rejection, but it's not always about you. People prioritize what matters most to them based on their own values, needs, and emotional state. If your silence doesn't affect them, it's a reflection of how little space you occupy in their mind and heart, not a reflection of your worth as a person. The key is to stop internalizing their indifference as a failure on your part. You could be the most amazing, caring, and valuable person, but if they don't see it, their perception does not define your reality. It simply means you're investing your energy in someone who either doesn't recognize your value or isn't in a place to appreciate it. But let's dig deeper. Why don't they value your presence in the first place? Often it's because they've become accustomed to your availability. If you've been over-communicating, overly accommodating, or constantly chasing their attention, they may have taken you for granted. Your silence, instead of creating a void, might feel like a relief to them because it temporarily frees them from the weight of your attention. Another reason could be their own emotional detachment. Some people are emotionally unavailable or preoccupied with their own issues, making them incapable of noticing or caring about your absence. Their indifference might have more to do with their internal struggles than with anything you've done or failed to do. This truth, as harsh as it is, acts as a filter. It shows you who truly values your presence and who doesn't. And that's a gift. Why waste your energy on someone who doesn't see your worth? Your silence isn't a failure, it's a spotlight, illuminating the people who are meant to stay in your life and those who aren't. Ultimately, their reaction or lack of it shouldn't define your self-worth. When you learn to value yourself, you'll stop chasing the validation of others. Instead, you'll attract people who see your absence as unbearable because they truly value your presence. How to make your silence impossible to ignore. Silence is one of the most underrated tools of influence, but only when used correctly. If your silence has had no effect, it's likely because it lacks depth, intention, or alignment with your inner self. To make your silence truly impossible to ignore, you must approach it with clarity, confidence, and conviction. Here's how you can do that. Shift your focus to yourself. Silence becomes impactful only when it's a byproduct of self-prioritization, not an attempt to manipulate someone else's emotions. Instead of obsessing over their reaction, shift your focus inward. Use this period to work on yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Dive into activities that fuel your passions, elevate your self-worth, and bring you joy. When you create a life that radiates fulfillment, people will notice. Your silence will naturally project strength, not vulnerability, because you'll be too busy thriving to care about their response. Build unshakable self-respect. Silence should never be used as a weapon born out of hurt or revenge. Instead, it should reflect your unwavering self-respect. When someone disrespects or undervalues you, your silence becomes a boundary, a non-verbal statement that you refuse to settle for less than you deserve. However, this requires deep internal work. You must believe that you are enough without their validation. When your silence stems from this place of self-assuredness, it becomes impossible to ignore because it carries the weight of your worth. Detach emotionally. The real power of silence lies in emotional detachment. If you're going silent but still obsessing over their every move, your energy betrays you. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. It's the art of letting go while maintaining your inner peace. When you no longer need a reaction from them, your silence gains a magnetic quality. It's not about playing games, it's about mastering your emotions and reclaiming your power. Create mystery and absence. Silence works best when it's unexpected. If you've been overly available, your absence won't initially feel significant. To change this, you must cultivate mystery. Become someone whose time, attention, and presence are rare and valuable. Let them wonder where you are and what you're doing. When silence is paired with an aura of self-sufficiency and intrigue, it compels them to reflect on your absence. Let silence be a statement, not a tactic. Ultimately, your silence should speak for itself. It shouldn't be a tactic to win someone back, but a reflection of your decision to prioritize yourself. When silence is rooted in authenticity, it becomes undeniable. It says, I value myself too much to chase what isn't meant for me. And that's a statement no one can ignore. By embodying these principles, your silence will no longer feel like an empty void. It will become a powerful presence that commands attention. Here's the truth revealed. Silence isn't about them, it's about you. If it's not working, it's not because they're unbothered. It's because your silence isn't rooted in strength. Change the energy behind it, and you'll change its impact. Now reflect on this. Are you truly ready to make your silence count? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights on mastering your mind and emotions. Remember, in silence lies power, but only when it's wielded with wisdom.